So Nick Caserio spoke during the bye week. He typically does that. A lot of times when Nick Caserio speaks, he says a lot, but he doesn't say much. Some call that word salad, but I think today there were a few entrees with the salad. Specifically, I brought my biggest criticisms of Nick Caserio to him and allowed him to address them. I thought he did a pretty good job of doing so. I always enjoy the back and forth with Nick Caserio. He knows the game. He knows how to play it. A lot of times he might overthink it and not say a lot, but I think Nick Caserio is a guy that the word of the day was evolve. I think he's willing to do it. I think he's willing to explain if you bring an opinion to him and allow him the opportunity to do that. Before we do that, though, let's shout out Sleeper for sponsoring the video. Best sports app in the game. I am now using Sleeper as my score app. The other score apps that we've been used to using, they stink. And the Sleeper score app is second to none. I know the muscle memory might kind of make it a little bit difficult for some, but I've officially gotten used to it. And I also like to play higher, lower, the best DFS game that there is. And if you would like to play that, you can now, first-time users, download the Sleeper app, and you get a $20 free entry with no deposit needed. Plus, you get to take advantage of the special that we've been running all football season where you get a 100% match up to $100 with the code LOCKER. So you get the free $20, and then you can still get the 100% match, and you can play some higher, lower. One of my favorite things in the game. One of the picks I like this week, I'm going to go with the over on Houston native Cam Ward against the Raiders. It's still below 200, so I think you got to take advantage of that. Let's get into what Nick Caserio had to say. I've had two criticisms of Nick Caserio this year. One has been just really no method to the madness when it comes to trades. Specifically, the tackle depth is something that I've been a little bit kind of concerned about. They've traded two backup tackles without really not having much depth. Their actions have shown they don't necessarily want to or trust Blake Fisher on the field. And now he's one play away with the moves that they've made. So that's one criticism. The other one is the old New England offense, which we've talked about. Nick Caserio had a lot to say about that. But let's hear Nick Caserio on the balance of saying that a move is for the best interest of the team versus saying that a move is in the best interest of the player, like he did with Cam Robinson. This was an interesting exchange with myself and Nick Caserio. Here's what he had to say.
With that, the best interest of the team, y'all say that when y'all make moves, but with Cam Robinson, it was he wanted to play more, so it was in the best interest of the player. How are those two things aligned, especially where you might be a little more thin with the depth?
Yeah, I mean, we have 4 starting tackles in the building, so right now, including Trent Brown. So, I mean, Cam's situation was, again, take all the information, evaluate it, and then in the end, make the decision that we feel is best, for the team and everybody involved. So it's no different. Our philosophy is the same. So have discussions, have dialogue. D'Amico and I talk about it. In the end, whatever we feel makes the most sense, that's what we do.
Blake is a starting tackle right now?
I'm saying we have 4 tackles that have started in the NFL. Is that accurate? Is that not accurate?
Yeah, I was just asking.
I'm saying we have 4. Yeah, we have 4 tackles. Blake Fisher, Trent Brown. I mean, Trent started 100 games in the NFL. So I'm saying we feel good about the people that are in the building. So that's what we decide to go with. So each week we'll evaluate it and figure out what makes the most sense.
And we'll see how that whole thing goes. I think that was a mix-up of words. He said starting tackles. I looked at that as starting caliber tackles. Like every action that they've shown has been they don't want to play Blake Fisher. They gave Blake Fisher every opportunity to be the starting right tackle. He didn't take advantage to the point where they had an extreme shuffle to avoid it. Titus Howard's now back at right tackle. He's playing really well. Caserio had some good things to say. So that was really my question. And Trent Brown, I don't know if Trent Brown's ready to play right now or not. So that's kind of a little bit of a disagreement, but he seems to feel good about it. He's on record saying he feels good about it. Hopefully they don't even have to figure it out because the starting offensive line, there's an improvement from last year. And as long as I always use this theory, like if you want to roll around without insurance, it doesn't matter as long as you don't crash or you don't get pulled over. So, and I don't recommend that. I've never done that, but when you don't have a lot of depth, I think that's the ideal analogy. Next source of criticism, and Nick Caserio went really in depth in this. And the reason that I wanted to bring this to Nick, and it resulted in quite a long back and forth, which I'll react to after the New England system. Nick Caley, the first few weeks, it looked like just a plug and play New England system. They were doing the same stuff. Why do we believe that? Because we've seen it. We saw it with Bill O'Brien, which I'll bring up to Nick Caserio. Now, Nick Caserio has an interesting point of view of this system. He was a part of it for over 2 decades. He was a coach in it. He was a front office guy. He even wore the headset with Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels. Here is Nick Caserio just addressing my notion, and I admitted that it was my notion that the New England system is back. I think you might like this. Here's what Nick Caserio had to say.
System. I know like some of the foundational pieces are the New England system, but we always talk about, the New England system is back. I'll say I talk about it. I won't lump people in.
Are you in the New England system?
Well, how is this? Like, telling me as much as you can tell me, because there's been players that played for both O'Brien and him, 3 guys that have said it, and Todd Bowles said it was familiar. Telling me as much as you can without giving away too much. Tell me how this is different than the Brady New England system.
Yeah. Again, I think anytime everything kind of generally labeled this system, that system, I would say football evolves over time. So, again, the offense as it was constructed in 01 is different than the offense in 07, different than the offense in 2010. So it kind of took on multiple different shapes and sizes. Offensive football, forget about the New England system or any system. It usually goes back to what are some of the foundational things, core principles, and then what's your personnel, who do you have on your team, and what are some of the things that you're going to ask those players to do. How you call plays, route concepts. Honestly, everybody has the same concepts. Probably the biggest, I would say, difference, or maybe some of the things that are specific systematically, is just from a protection variation standpoint. So that's probably where you've seen some, I would say. It can be. It honestly, again, not biased, but sometimes it simplifies for everybody involved. And I think defenses have done a good job of evolving. So I think what you're trying to do is just equip the players and the quarterback for answers if there's an issue. And there's going to be times where the defense presents situations where maybe they have an extra player that you can't block or you can't account for. So it's really more, I would say, in the protection system front than it is anything else. Route concepts, run games, some of those other things. I mean, honestly, it's probably universal. I mean, you can look around the league. Maybe some teams emphasize a few more things relative to others. But again, I don't want to say it's actually a very player-friendly system. It's quarterback-friendly. And you have to learn the terminology and what you call things, and sometimes you got to be able to translate a little bit. But even that system, it evolved over time, and it's not certainly cut and paste. It's not you take this playbook and then you drop it in. There's always going to be core elements, and I think we're all a product of whatever our foundation, what do we learn. But even as you grow as a coach, as in personnel, you're going to make some changes and adjustments as you go, and you're going to kind of, I don't want to say modernize it or equip it to this game and to kind of mirror with some of the defense. And when you look at the way defenses are playing now relative to, let's call it the 2010s, through 15, it's definitely changed. So front structure, front modification, I would say defenses have done a really good job of evolving, and they try to put a lot of stress. And when you're coaching defensive football and you're playing defense, you're really trying to, what can we do to stretch protections? So conversely, on the offensive side, all right, what are some of the things that we can do to counteract and balance that? So again, I think sometimes you just have to be careful of just making too much of a parallel. It's system to system. It's definitely evolved over time. And unless you've been really in the system, which I've been in a lot of systems over the course of 25 years. I'm not saying like...
No, you've been a part of it, and that's why I asked, because we've seen it not work with Tom Brady, and that's one of the talking points that I use. And then we saw it for a number of years, and it didn't feel like it was evolving as much. But you're one of the guys who was there for 20 years. You coached in it. You were in the building. Sometimes you're wearing the headset. So I just figured you would have a better grasp of it.
It definitely evolved, Landry. And the same thing defensively. And you're looking going back to some of the defensive front structures from how it was kind of in the beginning to where it was in the end.
You're saying it's evolving here, right? But that's not always, though, right?
Correct. I'm saying offensively and defensively, just in those systems, my experience over 20 years, they were modified and tweaked and evolved. And then when you look at where we are with the Houston Texans, we've had a couple different, call it offensive systems, but I'd say a lot of concepts that we're using currently, we've carried over from the past 2 to 3 years. They're player friendly, there's some carryover, and that's where as a coach, you're just trying to figure out what makes the most sense and trying to make it work. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. And D'Amico's done the same thing defensively. The things that he was doing in San Francisco, we're doing things here that he wasn't doing in San Francisco. And that's kind of the ebb and flow, of this league.
All right, so there you go. Caserio answers the two biggest criticisms. The tackle thing, I disagree. I don't feel as good about the depth as he does. The track record of offensive line evaluation, kind of a polarizing thing with Cacerio. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but he explained it. They have 4 guys who've started games, not starter quality, to be clear, but they've started games. As far as the offense, I think the word evolution, player friendly, and protection are the 3 things that we've seen. We also can tell that Nick Cacerio has strong opinions on it and a lot of experience. And I thought that another interesting thing was he kind of brought D'Amico into it and talked about how he's changed calling defense, which you could maybe connect to the fact that D'Amico is based on action and where we've seen improvement from this offense. I know it's against not as good opponents. We've seen kind of D'Amico kind of evolve, and maybe Caserio and D'Amico had to step in and kind of help Kaylee out, which wouldn't be the craziest thing for someone who had only called a few games at that point. But I always enjoy, if you're going to say something on the show, just bringing it to the player, the coach, or whatever. And I think Caserio did a good job of kind of giving his POV of how he felt about it. So I enjoyed it. It was good bye week. One of Caserio's better bye week media availabilities. And we'll see where this goes. Texans are going to have to prove that they can beat good teams. Nick Caley, as Cacerio said, is going to have to continue to evolve, and we'll see what it looks like starting in Seattle Monday night, 9:00, and then the tough home stretch. We'll see how it goes. But that's what the GM had to say about it. Again, sleeper, $20 entry, no deposit needed, and 100% match up to $100 when you use the code LOCKER. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to listen to SNL Monday through Friday at 4:00, as well as the Locker Room at 10:30. Texans Collective at 6. Post-game shows, Reaction Mondays, all of that. We got you covered. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Little entree with the salad. How about that?